because what Patagonia is essentially asking is basically stop being able to make money off of your main source of income, which is using your drag name. Because she's partnered with National Geographic, which is owned by Disney, and Microsoft, which uses generative AI, which is bad for the environment and people. Is there like an explanation for this that makes sense? Alexi's online. Hi, Alexi here. Welcome back to my channel, where I realized it's Pride Month and I have yet to make a video about gay controversy. Patagonia versus Patagonia. So I know this was going viral a bit ago, but the company Patagonia is suing drag queen Patagonia for $1 plus legal fees. It's not like, oh, if we win, you give us $1 and we're good. No, it's you give us $1 plus like probably thousands to millions in like lawyer fees. So this suit was filed in January 2026. Patagonia says that the suit is in response to Patagonia filing a trademark for her name that would include being able to use it on apparel, which is what outdoor company Patagonia sells. And Patagonia says that that would create confusion and that they have to sue to defend their trademark. Meanwhile, Patty says that she is trademarking her name in part due to a sort of recent situation with drag queen Lexi Love, whose name was basically copyrighted out from under her, which then damaged her career. So according to Patagonia, she wants to, protect her name and her own livelihood by getting this trademark. And like, as a gay person on the internet that was following this whole situation, it was really interesting seeing all of the initial support for Patagonia, who is the drag persona of Win Wiley, flip to supporting Patagonia, the corporation. Patagonia, please don't sue me for having your logo here. Everything started blowing up again at the end of May, because that was when Patagonia posted this video on social media.
Hi everyone, it's Patagonia. Today I'm breaking my silence about the lawsuit that the multi-billion-dollar corporation Patagonia has filed against me, a drag queen and climate activist, for trademark infringement. Patagonia told the media they're only suing me for $1. What they're actually trying to do is to take away my name permanently and threaten me with more than $1 million in legal fees. This is not a brand conflict. This is a corporation trying to erase an activist. And this is how corporations bully individuals who cannot match their resources, because this would take away not only my activism and my career, but also the livelihoods of the team I employ. This is a betrayal of Patagonia's core mission, because if they're in business to save the home planet, why are they suing a climate activist? Over the last 4 months since the lawsuit was filed, I've stayed silent, courteous, and worked every channel I could to resolve this without going to court. But in the end, I had two choices: the erasure of my name, my advocacy, my community, and everyone I employ, or to fight for myself and to fight for us. So I'm fighting, and I'm inviting you to join me in a simple call to action. Patagonia, drop the lawsuit.
So I actually do agree with Patagonia when she says that what Patagonia is asking for in their suit is not reasonable from the perspective of a performer. They're basically asking her to give up her name completely. And when like taken in a vacuum, I actually do agree with Patagonia that this does feel pretty unreasonable, because what Patagonia is essentially asking is basically stop being able to make money off of your main source of income, which is using your drag name. Patagonia is known for infusing climate activism into her drag, and she raises a lot of money and awareness surrounding climate change. She recently did a several-mile hike in heels. That hike did raise like over $1 million for various climate organizations. Meanwhile, Patagonia, the corporation, donates its profits to ending climate change as well. The ownership structure is actually really interesting, in my opinion. After the founder retired, he transferred ownership to a trust as opposed to like selling the company, which probably would have made him more money, to be honest, although this deal did save him like $700K in taxes, so I don't know. But since transferring ownership to this trust, as much as 98% of profits have been donated. So I think there is actually like this question of why are this drag queen who is using her art and influence for climate-based activism and this corporation that is fairly dedicated to also helping end climate change. Like, why are the girls fighting, Especially when they both seem to have similar goals. Well, according to Patagonia, the brand is basically sticking with the US status quo of punching down on queer people and in particular drag queens. According to Patagonia, the corporation, this is not the case. The company states in their court filing that they tried to work with Patagonia to avoid this outcome. In February 2022, when Hydro Flask was discussing a collaboration with Patagonia, Hydro Flask contacted Patagonia to ensure Patagonia did not object to the proposed collaboration. The parties met and discussed restrictions on the use of Patagonia to protect against confusion about the source of products or advocacy connected to Patagonia. Patagonia confirmed an understanding that she must refrain from selling Patagonia-branded products or using fonts or designs that copy or are substantially similar to Patagonia's logos. Ultimately, Patagonia ignored the agreement she had reached with Patagonia and began selling products under the Patagonia brand. In early 2025, after seeing Patagonia selling Patagonia branded apparel on Patagonia's PatagoniaMerch.com website, Patagonia again asked that defendants stop commercial use of the Patagonia name and abide by the 2022 understanding. What I will say is that I don't think the merch Patagonia is selling could really be confused for Patagonia merch. I'll have a picture of it on the screen. Like, if y'all are confusing that for official Patagonia merch, like, I don't really know what to tell you. These are also literally the photos that are in Patagonia's court filing. However, the next page of said court filing has examples of other instances where fan-made merch has caused confusion and like, yeah, I do kind of see where they're coming from. Additionally, as I already stated, according to Patagonia, they do legally have to defend their trademark, otherwise they could lose it. They've gone after other small businesses that have similar names in the past, such as Patagonia. So when taken with that, you probably could say that they're not targeting Patagonia specifically because she's a drag queen. I've heard a bunch of people asking why Patagonia and Patagonia didn't just collab, seeing as Patagonia claims to have tried to work with Patagonia. I actually learned from Evie Oddly, who is another drag queen who I really likes, podcast that Jan Sport, who's another drag queen, did a collab with like the backpack company Jan Sport, and then I did a little bit more digging into that, and Jan Sport, the drag queen, says that she had to drop the sport part of her name and scrap a bunch of backpack and like sporty themed looks at the request of RuPaul's Drag Race when she went on the show. But after the show, Jan Sport, the backpack company, actually collabed with her. Evie Oddly and just a lot of other people I saw on the internet's point, why couldn't we just have some Patagonia x Patagonia merch? Like, that makes sense considering they have pretty similar values in theory. I did see people online saying that Patty said she didn't want to do an official collab because Patagonia did have a contract with the US military for 40 years. And this was via their subsidiary, Lost Arrow, which, like, okay, they sold Lost Arrow and Patagonia is no longer contracted with the US military, but why did this outdoor company work for one of the biggest polluters in the US for 40 years? I thought y'all were anti-pollution. Patagonia. I thought you were against that. Patagonia has a spotty record when it comes to factory workers' rights, which I think is probably the case with any large corporation, to be honest. Like, I did find an article about how when the corporation found out workers in its Taiwanese warehouses were being mistreated, they did take a stand for better treatment for those warehouse workers. But I also found a report on bad working conditions in one of the factories it uses in Sri Lanka. Basically, all that to say, if I was Patagonia and my values were like standing up for the environment and people, I probably wouldn't want to collab with Patagonia, the company, either. I would probably want to stick to collabing with small sustainable businesses or something like that. Wait, I guess I'm not Patagonia actually, because she's partnered with National Geographic, which is owned by Disney, and Microsoft, which uses generative AI, which is bad for the environment and people. Wow. Patty is really starting to look like a hypocrite, huh? That's also not the only kind of weird shit that Patagonia has done. So remember how I said that Patagonia is the drag persona of Win Wiley? Win Wiley co-founded Outdoorist Oath, an organization that, quote, supports education, experiences, and community to help individual outdoorists, you, plan and take action to support planet, inclusion, and adventure. Outdoorist Oath is a tax-exempt 501c3 as of June 2024, which is cool. 501c3, awesome, great, except their Instagram posted that they had obtained nonprofit status in 2022. Is there like an explanation for this that makes sense? Like maybe it like fell through or something in 2022 and they had to refile? If somebody does have an explanation because they know more about like nonprofit stuff, please let me know in the comments, because this feels weird to me. Actually, Outdoorist Oath is one of the orgs that Wiley raised money for when hiking 100 miles down the California coast earlier this year. I did also see some claims that when Wiley might not have actually donated money he raised for Nebraska flood victims in 2019, which I did look into. And while it does seem like they weren't as in contact with press and affected people as they could have been, he did post photo evidence of checks to the organizations that he committed to raising money for. So after all of this information about Patagonia / Win Wiley came to light, as well as accusations that they discouraged people from voting in past US presidential elections, I feel like from what I saw online, public opinion did do a 180 and people started actually defending Patagonia, the corporation. I saw a few people talking about how Patagonia donated gear to people at Standing Rock, for example. People also posted about how much money Patagonia makes. And what really finally drove me over the edge and make me actually type down this script is I saw multiple people saying that Patagonia is a corporation as well. So like it's really corporation versus corporation instead of corporation versus drag queen. I think there's two things happening here, right? There's who's legally wrong and who's morally wrong. And while I think the knee-jerk reaction initially in the legally wrong sphere started as Patagonia is infringing on Patagonia's right to do satire and practice drag, it sort of transitioned to Patagonia was warned to stop using Patagonia on merch and creating confusion between the Patagonia and Patagonia brands, so actually Patagonia is in the right. And like most things in life, it's actually a bit more nuanced than that. As the leftist lawyer pointed out on a Threads post, the agreement that happened because of the Patagonia Hydro Flask collab appears to have been made over emails. And usually an agreement like that would be a written statement that both parties signed, and it would be attached to the complaint Patagonia had filed against Patagonia. What she thinks happened is that Patagonia almost certainly thought an agreement was reached, and Patty almost certainly thought there wasn't, which, by the way, is the kind of disagreement that is why we have written contracts in the first place. Rather than either side trying to clarify, Patagonia spent a couple of years doing nothing and relying on an email chain, and Patty's side thought, well, guess the deal's off then, and went ahead to trademark Patagonia. That, from a legal perspective, left Patagonia no real choice but to file suit. As for the whole morally right thing, there are two camps here as well. I think things swung from large corporation is bullying drag queen to drag queen is actually a corporation and is using this situation to make money. Pretty quickly, actually. People are mad that Patagonia is only posting about the lawsuit now that it's Pride Month-ish, like it's all to gain sympathy or whatever. And like, here's the thing, if I were Patagonia and I were being sued by a corporation, my gay ass would also probably post about it during Gay Month, because that's a month that people are more likely to be paying attention. I don't really think I can weigh in on the legal stuff because I don't really understand all of the legalese. That's why I included the post by the leftist lawyer. I do think that I can maybe weigh in on the moral stuff because I post my opinion on the internet all the time. And my opinion is, I don't really like any of these people or corporations. Here's me about to be petty. I grew up in the Bay Area. I will not shut up about it. And the summer camp I went to, all of the cool kids from fucking Piedmont, if you know, you know, had Patagonia fleeces. And I was not a cool kid, nor was I from Piedmont. And that fucking Patagonia fleece became a clear symbol of the alienation I felt every summer. It did turn out I was just trans, but you know, that's beside the point. I have trauma about Patagonia fleeces, okay? So I am already biased against Patagonia on a personal level. But I am also biased against all corporations during Pride Month, as I have experienced the canon event of watching corporations like Facebook march in San Francisco Pride and then campaign against our rights. So in June, I become particularly anti-corporation. But I also become especially suspicious of cis white gay men when Wiley does use he, him, and they, them pronouns, and all of the information I could find about them identifying as a gay man out of drag was from like 2019, so I'm not sure how things may or may not have updated. So, you know, I'm not 100% sure what their gender identity is. But at the same time, I do think there is a lot of frustration for those more marginalized within the LGBTQ community, in particular trans people and or racialized people, that we're all feeling towards those in our community with more privilege right now, which people are perceiving, I think probably somewhat correctly, when Wiley to have. Because here's the thing, right? We've seen cis white gay men gain these privileges, which isn't to say that they don't still experience discrimination at all, then leave the rest of us behind, either through resorting to transphobia themselves, or it sometimes feels like willfully misunderstanding that just because they have rights doesn't mean the rest of us do, if that makes sense. So in that podcast I mentioned a bit earlier, Evie Oddly said, I just think it's sad because the way I see it overall as a whole is like gay people still really do not want to see gay people succeed. Queers do not want to see queers like really get there. And while I don't 100% agree with her, I do also see where she's coming from in the context of this situation. I think queer people online are like really, really angry because online spaces have become a place where discrimination against us really flourishes. And even beyond that, I think more liberal people in the US, at least, are just feeling really upset and hopeless with those in power, whether it be our government or corporations that allow the discrimination on our platform, or both, of course. I think that for a lot of us, it feels easier to express our anger at individuals on our level because it feels so impossible to shame like politicians, for example. I think that's why the YouTube drama cycle has been very let's dogpile on this one person recently, whether it be sort of problematic people like Tyler Catastrophe or genuinely shitty people like James Charles or like kind of shitty people like Ned Fulmer. And I also think that's why people are going to bat for Patagonia, the company. They want there to be a corporation that's not completely evil towards us because it's nearly impossible to disentangle ourselves from using platforms made by corporations that are in our everyday lives. Basically, we're all really mad about other stuff and we're projecting it onto a drag queen that's being kind of annoying and a corporation that's being weird, which is just sort of how June goes. Thank you so much for watching. My outro song is Take a Vacation by the Young Veins. All channel art is by me. Like, comment, subscribe, hype, all of that means a lot to me. I love to respond to comments and I still think the little hype star is very cute. I think I'm going to try a coming up in this video kind of clip at the beginning of this video, which is new for me. It apparently helps with viewer retention, so let me know if you like that, if I did end up doing that. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye now!